Hello, YouTube and Wooper Club fans. It's me, Fruit Taco, the coach of the Route 1 Burbs, bringing you Week 7's feature match from the 12th season of the WCL. This week we have Samantha and the Wooper Troopers going up against Hitmonchan and the Close Combat Club. Both teams have had a rough season, and with the regular season winding down, every win matters that much more to keep even the slimmest chances of making the playoffs alive. We've got a lot to talk about, so let's just dive on in. The troopers are made up of Chien Pao who cannot Terra, Iron Jugulus, Toadscruel, Aqua Breed Tauros, Arcanine, Tinkaton, Annihilate, Glamora, Iron Thorns, Vaporeon, and Bronzong. Their opponents, the club, are made up of Noivern, Iron Treads, Palafin who cannot Terra, Volcarona, Rotom Frost, Grimmsnarl, Dunsparce, Iron Hands, Rabsca, Quagsire, and Amoonguss. Looking at the speed matchups here, it's relatively even, with the slight advantage going to the troopers. Chien Pao is the fastest mon in the matchup, and Iron Jugulus is the third fastest by 2 points, but with the team splitting the top 4 and having two base 100s to follow that up, they're fairly evenly matched, I'd say. The troopers get their edge in the middle tiers, though, with 3 Pokemon in the 90s able to take advantage of the slower back half of the club's roster. Shifting on over to the type matchups, the troopers have an overall weakness to electric, ghost, ground, and water, several types the club can look to exploit. Meanwhile, the troopers themselves can go after the slight fire, flying, and rock weaknesses the club have. Overall, while the club has fewer weaknesses, they also have fewer resists, so even outside of those mentioned types, the troopers may be able to get far with just big neutral damage. So, who stands out on each side? Well, for the troopers, Iron Jugulus looks great. With a good speed tier and strong fire moves to hit the club's only flying resists, I can see this Pokemon doing a lot of work. Iron Thorns could also do well with the Dragon Dance up, getting to exploit that rock weakness I mentioned, and with good coverage options, it's really only stopped by the Quagsire if it comes. Really, any of the offensive mons have a chance to shine. Something like Banded Chien Pao can spam Crunch except against Iron Hands and Grimmsnarl who don't want to switch into an Ice Spinner, with Sucker Punch being a good answer to Jet Punch or any opposing Scarfs. Grimmsnarl is the only good Rage Fist resist, but gets shredded by Gunk Shot, so a bulk up Annihilate has plenty of room to work. Armarouge has unresisted dual stabs, so the potential to pop a weakness policy against something like Iron Tread's Quagsire or a non-banded Palafin's Flip Turn, pop a weak armor at the same time, and set up Psychic Terrain to spam big expanding forces is tricky, but very possible and very scary. Arcanine and Tauros can also put out some pressure, but I'd expect them to come as part of a bulkier Intimidate core to deal with Palafin, Treads, and Hands. Looking now at the club's big players, their physical threats don't like the potential double Intimidate, but are still scary. Iron Treads can easily spam Earthquake and Knockoff, with a Rapid Spin boost making a threat to a lot of things. Palafin can carry Zen Headbutt to hit the Tauros that usually walls it, after which water moves go to town. And Iron Hands setting up a Belly Drum on an Intimidator switching in is absolutely terrifying. Maybe it could even be Terra Fire to avoid getting burned, so it can then spam Drain Punch into the rotating Intimidators or Thunder Punch into the immune Annihilate to make huge progress. The special attackers have plenty of time to shine too, though. Rotom can easily spam Specs or Scarf Electric moves, since Iron Thorns is the only resist that isn't weak to Blizzard, and Noivern has fire moves to hit the only 2 things that would resist Choice Specs Draco Meteor. But I really like Volcarona here, actually. Quiver Dance with your fire move of choice, Giga Drain, and Terra Ground Terra Blast looks like it could really tear the troopers apart, as long as any Ice Shards and Aqua Jets are accounted for. And of course, screens from Grimmsnarl and status from Amoonguss can go a long way to helping all of those threats. I think Trick on Grimmsnarl and especially Toxic Spikes from Amoonguss are great support options as well. So who am I picking in this matchup? Well, I could certainly see the match going either way. I think this is going to be a bit of a slugfest with both teams working on chipping down the walls on either side, and in that regard, I think I'll side slightly on the side of the Close Combat Club. I think they have the edge in the Hazard matchup, with Glamora being vulnerable to a lot and Iron Treads being an incredible remover, and in a battle of attrition, those Hazards are a big deal. But that's enough theorizing. Let's check out what the coaches actually ended up bringing to the match. Starting off for the troopers is Chien Pao running Adamant Max Attack with just enough speed to outspeed modest Noivern, and holding a pair of boots to not worry about hazards. Ice Spinner is here as a reliable stab, especially to hit Amoonguss. Sucker Punch is the more powerful, if less reliable priority option, and Brick Break lets it tear down screens while hitting Iron Treads super effectively. The last move is Haze, which is an interesting choice. It lets it reset some opponent's boosts, but it can't outspeed a Volcarona or Iron Treads with a speed boost, and even if it does outspeed something like Iron Hands or Palafin, you have to think that Qianpao is just always getting KO'd in exchange for that Haze. Is there a particular piece of setup Samantha is worried about? Maybe, but personally I'd have gone with something like Taunt, Swords Dance, or Psychic Fangs in that last slot. Next up is Annihilate with almost max defense and HP, along with just enough speed to outspeed max speed Iron Hands. This is a bulky boy here to sponge hits to boost Rage Fist's power while keeping healthy with Drain Punch and Leftovers. Encore can give it some room to use Bulk Up, and Terra Ghost can boost the damage from Rage Fist even further. This set certainly has the chance to go off, but it's going to have to watch out for a couple things. Notably, any big potentially super effective special attacks, as well as getting hit with Burn or Toxic. And also, without a poison move, that Grimmsnarl is going to be probably a decent Rage Fist answer until it gets boosted really high. Arcanine is the next mon up, running a fast defensive spread, max defense investment, and almost max speed Jolly let it outspeed Adamant Iron Treads. Heavy Duty Boots let it ignore hazards as it's switching in to get those Intimidates off, and Terra Grass gives it a great way to resist water, ground, and electric attacks. Extreme Speed lets it beat out Scarfers, an opposing priority for chip damage. Flare Blitz is its stab of choice. Terra Blast lets it hit Palafin and Quagsire super effectively, and Will-O-Wisp lets it cripple all the physical threats it expects to see. This is a solid set, but I do have a couple of thoughts. Extreme Speed doesn't do a whole lot without any attack investment, and with Flare Blitz recoil adding up, I think going with Morning Sun would have been a better choice. This set is definitely fine as is, but it's gonna have to be played really smartly to avoid getting worn down too quickly. Next we have Iron Jugulus, also running a fast defensive set, just outspeeding Jolly Iron Treads, but not outspeeding Modest Noivern by just a couple points. Heavy Duty Boots let it switch in regardless of hazards, and Air Slash plus Earth Power let it hit everything except Rotom at least neutrally, with Terra Ground potentially boosting those Earth Powers and letting it dodge any electric attacks. U-Turn and Taunt then give it some utility to round out the set. Gotta say, I was expecting Iron Jugulus, but this set surprises me. Jugulus has respectable bulk, but I definitely expected to see a more specially offensive set. Speed and special attack investment with a Scarf, Specs, Booster Energy, or maybe even Assault Vest seemed like the obvious call to me, with something like Air Slash or Hurricane, Flamethrower, U-Turn, and Earth Power. I'm really interested in seeing how this set does, as it should still output respectable damage. I just thought Arcanine and the next mon covered the physical bulk well enough. And that next mon is Tauros, actually running a slightly more offensive set with max attack investment but jolly nature, with sizable speed and HP investment, as well as an Assault Vest to pair with the Intimidate and give it solid all-around bulk. The speed lets it outspeed max speed Rotom as well as Modest Volcarona and Adamant Palafin. Raging Bull will let it break screens, and combined with Close Combat, Trailblaze, and Earthquake, let it hit everything except Amoonguss, Noivern, Grimmsnarl, and Rabsca for super effective damage. Terra Grass can boost those Trailblazes and give it an even better defensive typing, letting it resist ground and electric moves in addition to the water moves it naturally resists, while also now resisting grass and being immune to Spore. Although I think Arcanine makes a little bit better use of that Grass Terra here. I like this set a lot, and with a Trailblaze boost late game, it could be a scary cleaner. And last but not least is Iron Thorns, running max attack Adamant with a lot of speed as well, and a booster energy to further boost that attack. The speed is just enough to, at +1 speed, outspeed max speed Iron Treads, although again for just 8 more EVs it could have also outsped Modest Noivern. It's of course getting that speed boost from Dragon Dance with Earthquake, Brick Break, and Terra Blast as its attacks. That Terra Blast goes with the advantages of Terra Grass, which we've already gone over twice, but is an odd choice to bring Terra Blast on 2 Mons, ensuring that it's a bit of a waste of a move on at least one of them. No Rock or Electric Stab is surprising too. The combination of potential ground and grass coverage is solid, and Brick Break can get rid of screens sure, but there are 4 rock weaknesses on the other team, with 2 of those resists being weak to ground and another being weak to grass. The Terra Blast and Brick Break are to sweep through Quagsire and Grimmsnarl, but this set still struggles with Amoonguss, which something like Stone Edge would really help with. I don't know, against those 3 Pokemon, I guess you have to pick your poison as far as what you can't break, and Samantha chose to have a better matchup against Quagsire and Grimmsnarl over the better Amoonguss and neutral matchups. We'll see if that decision plays off, but first we need to check out the team for the Close Combat Club. Starting it off for the Close Combat Club is the reliable Max Defense Max HP Dual Screens Grimmsnarl with Light Clay to extend the screens, Parting Shot to pivot, and Spirit Break to do good damage to Pokemon like Qianpao, Iron Jugulus, Tauros, and Annihilate. Terra Dark doesn't do much for it here besides losing Steel and Poison weaknesses, but this isn't the kind of Pokemon you Terra, it's here to enable the rest of the team. And Palafin is a great Pokemon to enable. Max HP and max attack with Bulk Up make it very bulky behind screens, and Drain Punch and a Citrus Berry can keep it healthy. Jet Punch is its only water attack, but will still hit hard with a boost or two, and lastly is Zen Headbutt to hit Tauros, who would otherwise be a great wall, as well as Annihilate. I like this set, although a burn could prove annoying, and without a Choice Band or Wave Crash, I think it's really going to want to be at +1 attack, which Intimidate could make difficult. Next up is Iron Hands, running max HP, max special defense with a Citrus Berry of its own. This mon is very bulky, even more so behind a screen, and looks like it'll try and use that bulk to set up a Swords Dance or two. Drain Punch gives recovery, Wild Charge is higher damage and hits some weaknesses, and Ice Punch is 4 times effective into the trooper's only electric immunity, Toedscruel. Here's the Terra Fire option I had predicted too, keeping the ground weakness but crucially meaning it can't be burned. I can respect going for the safer Swords Dance over the all-in Belly Drum option, and I think this could be a very annoying set for the troopers to deal with. Following that special tank is Amoonguss as a max HP, max defense physical tank. Giga Drain gives it additional recovery besides its leftovers and regenerator, while Spore and Toxic let it spread useful status. I also really like it running Clear Smog to get rid of any bulk ups or Dragon Dances its opponents try to set up. Terragrass doesn't do a whole lot for it, but on this team this was never going to be the Terramon anyway. Only other comment I have on this set is that Protector Synthesis over Sludge Bomb would have been really nice and complemented the Toxic stall and let it just sit in front of something like an Annihilate while it just chips it down. But we already saw how many Terragrass options the troopers are bringing, so maybe John was predicting that. Finally getting some speed on the team is Max Speed, Max Special Attack Rotom with a Choice Scarf to outspeed even more things. Volt Switch and Thunderbolt are only resisted by Iron Thorns and Toedscruel who don't want to eat a blizzard. With all the bases covered by those moves, Trick is a great option to cripple an opposing wall or setup mon. The speed investment might be able to be optimized some, though. Rotom currently speed ties with Glomora, who it probably doesn't want to risk losing the speed tie against anyway. Personally, I probably would have gone Modest Nature, which conveniently outspeeds Max Speed Qianpao by just 1 point, and still outspeeds +1 speed Iron Thorns at the cost of just not outspeeding some opposing slow Scarfers. Still, Terra Electric can boost that damage just fine while removing the Rock's weakness, so this looks very spammable in the matchup. And last we have more bulk in Max Special Defense Iron Treads with significant investment in HP and defense as well. No Rapid Spin or Rocks on this set, instead opting for Earthquake, Iron Defense, Body Press to use that boosted defense, and Protect to get extra leftovers recovery. Terra Dragon makes it weak to Qianpao's ice moves, but removes the weakness to Sacred Sword, which could bypass any defense boosts, and also resists the water and fire moves the Intimidate core would love to fire at it while not picking up the grass and electric weaknesses of water. I was expecting a normal offensive set, but I think I like this set even more. Most of the troopers' big hitters are on the physical side, so I actually think this could really pay off. We'll need to watch out for Annihilate being immune to Body Press, as well as catching a potential burn, which has not the attack stat, but the damage done with physical moves, which includes Body Press. And, well, that's the team. The obnoxiously bulky team. Grimmsnarl setting screens for a team where only one mon isn't invested in bulk, and only one more isn't fully invested in bulk? The troopers sure have their work cut out for them trying to break through all of this. Can they pull it off? Well, let's go find out. Here we are, and the troopers have an uphill battle to fight. The club's team is just so bulky, and without a choice band on Qianpao, the troopers just don't have a whole lot of immediate breaking power. I think John just has to play a safe game, whittling down his opponent with Toxic and pressure from Swords Dance Iron Hands and Iron Defense Iron Treads. Meanwhile, spreading burns is going to be absolutely key for the Wooper troopers, as is getting probably Annihilate some good Rage Fist boosts to eventually be able to punch through the club. This is the feature match for a reason, so let's see how it all goes down. No hazards for either team, too, so how are they going to end up leading? Iron Jugulus and Palafin. Samantha leads Iron Jugulus, which seems good. It can taunt or attack Iron Treads if John went for early rocks, as well as being able to taunt lead Grimmsnarl or just get a fast U-turn on anything else. John, on the other hand, has plenty of bulky switch-ins and is just going to opt to get activating Zero to Hero out of the way right off the bat. John's going to switch into Rotom as Samantha goes straight for damage with an Air Slash. John's going to reveal the Scarf, getting huge damage and pivoting it into Grimmsnarl, while Samantha pivots into Chien-Pao herself with a U-turn. Grimmsnarl sets Reflect, but it's going to be immediately broken by Chien-Pao, who gets decent damage off. Samantha switches out, expecting a Switch or Fairy attack, which does come out into Arcanine for a little damage. Parting Shot out into the Iron Hands, who is going to get burned. Unfortunate, but nothing wanted to take a burn or a Flare Blitz, really. Samantha switches to Annihilate as Iron Hands brings itself to effectively neutral with a Swords Dance. And now Encore means that Iron Hands can be repeatedly locked into Swords Dance and is now setup fodder. Amoonguss is going to come in to replace Iron Hands, and instead of a bulk up, Samantha goes for Drain Punch, maybe expecting the Rotom? Something is getting status, but what? It'll be Iron Jugulus catching a Toxic here, bringing it even lower. The Rotom switch here is obvious, which lets Samantha U-turn out into Iron Thorns to pop that booster energy. Rotom is going to Volt Switch out into Amoonguss again as Samantha goes for the Raw Brick Break, which was about a 60% chance to OHKO the Rotom from where it was at. Thorns can't touch Amoonguss, who has to switch into Arcanine, who eats a Giga Drain. I'm a bit surprised to see what John went for. Toxic would have been a little risky if Thorns had just Dragon Danced and had Stone Edge, but Spore seemed very free there. The only thing immune to it is Jugulus, who honestly you'd love to see switch in and just take more Toxic damage. We'll see what he does here now, though. Iron Hands is going to come in, and John can see that Arcanine has no attack investment here. Well, Iron Hands is going to end up eating its berry. Annihilate switches in now into a weak Wild Charge for an easy Rage Fist boost. John probably could have predicted this switch and gone into Rotom. Samantha wants to keep Arcanine healthy, so she probably won't stay in to just trade damage, and everything else is scared of one of Iron Hand's stabs. But Annihilate would love to take a weak hit and can punish a Swords Dance like it did last time, but John decides to not take that risk. And Amoonguss doesn't care about your stat or power boosts and fearlessly comes in as Samantha gets a free bulk up. Rage Fist still does under half while Clear Smog takes away the stat boost, but base power boost means Rage Fist will do the same amount of damage next turn. Rage Fist brings Amoonguss into KO range, but Toxic will put Annihilate on a timer, though it has plenty of time to do work still. John switches into Iron Hands, who's brought into KO range itself, but with the burn is basically just a damage sponge at this point. John could have gone into Grimmsnarl, who could set up a Reflect and only take maximum 40% between the switch in and turn to set screen, but its pivoting and ability to set screens later is much more useful than Hands at this point, and with at least 2 ways for Samantha to break the Reflect, just going into Hands seems pretty good. With the Regenerator recovery on Amoonguss, it can switch back in now to end up at about where it was when it left. Samantha predicts the Iron Hand sack here and goes into Iron Jugulus to reset Annihilate's toxic damage. Samantha makes a smart double here back into Annihilate, who gets another Rage Fist boost. That's 200 base power now. Samantha can't afford to rack up unnecessary toxic damage, though, and is just going to pick up the KO, but Grimmsnarl is still going to be a pretty good wall here. Rage Fist would have done max 17% through the new Reflect, so the switch to Arcanine, who also resists Spirit Break, is pretty good. Parting Shot will bring in Iron Treads, but it's another free burn onto someone who doesn't want it. Flare Blitz was unlikely, so I'd probably have gone into Rotom here myself to get free Volt Switch chip and possibly avoid the burn on someone who cares about it. But that's not the real story here, because I haven't been telling you guys something. See, the timer has been on for most of the match, however, Samantha hadn't actually realized that until about now, so her timer has gotten to just 30 seconds left on it. Usually I don't need to mention the timer, as it hurries up the battle, but doesn't influence how the coaches play too much. Well, we're about to see Samantha need to make some snap decisions, though, so we'll see how well she's able to play under that intense time pressure. Tauros is an easy switch here. Intimidate, Raging Bull is super effective, and breaks Reflect, but with an Iron Defense up, Iron Threads is going to be able to tank it out, maybe? Samantha's timer falls to just 15 seconds here as she chooses to break the reflect while getting decent damage off, but another iron defense is making it hard to make progress. Thank goodness for that burn counteracting the leftovers. John tears into a dragon type to negate its weaknesses as Samantha timer falls to under 5 seconds here, and she makes the snap call to go for Trailblaze, which will only technically do damage now that it's resisted. John using his Terra makes a bunch of sense. Close combat was doing about 30% and would only do about 15, letting him as easily get his last iron defense up. Meanwhile, Samantha makes a strange play and goes for Trailblaze. Close combat was her strongest move against everything except Amoonguss, which would take the most from Earthquake. Maybe this was a misclick caused by the timer? She still actually has several outs to this boosted Iron Treads, but that can be hard to see with the time pressure. Jugulus can do over 53% to max specially defensive Iron Treads, which Samantha might think it is right now, but now that it's Dragon type, it can only do about 25%? Qianpao actually easily beats this, though. Haze removes the defense boosts, and with the burn means it would actually live a body press, so it would threaten to KO with Ice Spinner on the next turn. Of course, a rapid spin speed boost would outspeed both of those options, and Samantha doesn't know that this Treads isn't running rapid spin. Annihilate is also an answer, as it is immune to body press, and the boosted Rage Fist is actually still doing about 15% to start chipping it down, while EQ is boosting that damage further while doing less than 10% to that Annihilate. But with Toxic wearing that option down as well, Samantha is in a tough situation for what option to go with. She needs to just get Chip on this so that one of those options in the back can finish the job, though. So if she doesn't predict a Rapid Spin or Body Press to switch to Annihilate for the immunity, she should probably just be spamming Close Combat at this point. Still under timer pressure, Samantha's Close Combat does get Chip as Burn saves Tauros from getting KO'd by the Body Press here. And now here on turn 29, Samantha's opponent mercifully turns the battle timer off, but Samantha actually makes a big misplay here going into Arcanine and taking almost half from a body press. Annihilate should always have been the switch here to be immune to the body press, even if it was an obvious switch. Annihilate is going to finally come out here, which puts both coaches in an awkward game of chicken where they're both being chipped down. Protect is finally revealed on Treads, which is actually going to let it stall out this Annihilate thanks to Toxic damage. Body Press covers the switch, but doesn't work while Drain Punch does measly damage, maybe expecting the Grimmsnarl? Arcanine switches in on the potential Protect, but will just end up being sacked to another Body Press. Samantha goes out into... Let's see here, Iron Jugulus, but I think she probably should have gone into Qianpao to Haze like I talked about. Protect will get some Toxic Chip as Samantha tries to get off a special attack here. John doesn't get the double Protect, and Iron Treads is real low now as Toxic takes out Jugulus, and that's going to bring in Qianpao. At this range, Ice Spinner is a guaranteed KO, so finally Treads goes down to bring in Grimmsnarl. Both coaches just go for damage as they fire off their strongest moves at each other. John is going to try to get up a Reflect before he goes down, but it'll be broken as Brick Break takes the KO, bringing in the Rotom. Sucker Punch is actually a 75% chance to OHKO that Rotom from where it's at, but Samantha is going to switch into Iron Thorns to safely tank the Volt Switch instead, which will bring out that Palafin. John is going to correctly predict the Tauros switch here and makes a smart double into Amoonguss who will win this matchup. Annihilate is an easy switch, being already statused and threatening big Rage Fist damage. I don't think Tauros was staying in there at really any reason, so if he predicted the switch, John could have gone back into Rotom. He can only do about 35% or 45% to Ape, depending on if he goes for the safe Thunderbolt or risky Blizzard, but those plus Toxic damage would let Palafin revenge kill the Ape and just start going to town on the rest of the team with a full HP Amoonguss in the back. But he stays in, and we can see here Rage Fist doing over half. Well, a critical hit Giga Drain is actually going to bring Annihilate very low. Samantha actually had a good chance to KO there if she used her Ghost Terra, but I guess she wants to save her Terra for Tauros or more likely Iron Thorns to become Grass type for that Palafin. Here, Rage Fist will pick up the KO, but thanks to the crit, Toxic damage is going to take Annihilate down too. Now we're going to see Thorns and Rotom hit the field again after that double down. That crit probably didn't matter much. Both Rotom and Palafin could have easily KO'd Annihilate before it could attack again, so it means that Samantha has to send out a Pokemon Blind here, but probably doesn't change what John needed to do to win. Rotom misses the Blizzard, though, as Brick Break is a guaranteed KO, and that looks like it could seal the game. But Samantha actually switches out here for the Intimidate, but Bulk Up will negate that drop while giving the defense boost. Close Combat will do just under a third, but we're going to see Zen Headbutt come out to KO Tauros. Thorns is back out in Terra's, but Drain Punch is neutral, and that defense boost means that Palafin is actually going to survive this Terra Blast while eating its berry. Zen Headbutt comes out and gets the 20% flinch. Oh no. And with that, the Close Combat Club are going to take the win after a very volatile last couple of turns. Sucker Punch not being able to do the damage, and Jet Punch just picking up the KO. Man, Samantha actually had it in the bag, but that switch out to get the Intimidate on the Palafin cost her the game. She had just gone for the Terra on Iron Thorns right away, she'd have lived any hit, and Terra Blast would have put Palafin in easy KO range for her other Pokemon, or a follow-up Terra Blast, since Palafin ended up going for Bulk Up anyways. John should have had the easy finish here, though, if he hit the Blizzard, as that would have put Iron Thorns in easy KO range, with Zen Headbutt and Jet Punch easily KOing the rest of the Troopers' team. Chien Pao could have gotten off a Sucker Punch and Tauros a Close Combat, but they'd need the 1 in 256 double max roll to exactly KO Palafin. Towards the end there, I think John could have made some relatively easy predictions, but even if he made them, I kept thinking about it, and it looks like it would just keep coming down to luck on hitting Blizzard and or Chien Pao missing the roll to KO Rotom with Sucker Punch. Well, that was a heck of a back and forth there, and is a great lesson on why Annihilate's Rage Fist is just so scary. Those burns and toxics really came in clutch for both sides, and it's crazy how neither team actually brought hazards. Just imagine how much damage those could have racked up with all that switching. But this was the match we got, and I'm sure glad we got it. Thanks so much to both of our coaches for that match, and thanks to you for watching. You can go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and until next week, I've been Fruit Taco, and I'll see you again for the next feature match.